Hi, this is Simon Bell again, and today I want to talk about the Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 UN Sustainable Development Goals, and looking at the progress that we have done so far in terms of towards their attainment, while we have got a major deadline that we are facing, which is 2030, where we're going to do a major review of the goals. I'm particularly disappointed myself with the pace and the speed at which we have moved. So far around the world, we haven't done much in terms of sustained, effective action on the goals, most of them. And the situation is actually getting worse in relation to the goals, most of the goals. I'll talk about water and sanitation. I'm coming from a country which is in Zimbabwe, which is in Southern Africa, and also in Africa, and I can speak of all the developing countries. We still have a very serious challenge in terms of waste management, solid waste management, wastewater management, and also availability of water. So the goal of water and sanitation, we are actually moving in the opposite direction. We are not moving towards the goal that we set. We talk about the goal of peace. We don't have peace in our country, in our world right now. We have a war in Ukraine. It's an example of some of the challenges that we are facing, and we can't have peace when there's war. So that's another goal that we are facing that we are not going to be achieving. Unfortunately, one of the goals of health was affected by COVID-19, and it's now water under the bridge. But already we can see that we are not going to be able to achieve the goals that we set. In general, I'm very disappointed because there's nothing moving, especially even when you look at climate action. In my country, there's some effort, but that effort is not enough. I work with local authorities quite a lot, especially in terms of solid waste management and also urban management systems, water, wastewater treatment, and also trying to help them to mainstream their sustainable development goals into their plans. So there's nothing much in terms of sustainable development talk and also sustainability thinking within the local authorities in urban cities and towns, and also even in rural areas. Although the government now is setting up a whole unit on sustainable development goals, we are still far away. Hazards management, in terms of the managing the environmental hazards which are caused by climate, we are still very far away. So I'm very disappointed, and I know that the main reason why we are failing to move forward is because those goals, they don't have a strategy. There's no strategy, there's no effort at ensuring that we've got effective strategies to make sure that we implement those goals. And in fact, I don't think it's fair enough to call them goals. They are ideals, and very brilliant ideals, but still they are not goals. We haven't converted them into real goals that people at a local level can actually then implement them. People on the grassroots, in the rural areas, in urban areas, people on the ground, most of them, they don't even have a clue about what we talk about when we talk about sustainable development and all these things that we talk about: sustainable consumption, sustainable water supply. They don't have any education and awareness on those goals. So we still have a very big gap, and unfortunately, some of us, when we try to approach the other people who are supposed to be driving the goals, they are not interested in this whole thing about the partnerships for achieving the goals, which is goal number 17. It's just a talk. When you approach them with your proposals and your ideas about how to improve the implementation of the goals, you don't get anyone very much interested. It's all a rigid structure that is being used to drive these goals, and it's that rigid structure is keeping out a lot of people who are supposed to be making positive contributions to the implementation of those goals. So that partnership, there's lack of skills, lack of strategy, lack of leadership, lack of management, project management, project planning skills, because all these goals, for them to work, they need those kind of skills. They need strategic thinking, strategic planning, strategy formulation. They need leadership all across throughout the chain of implementation. It needs awareness. It needs also ensuring that people have got the capacity to develop proposals and programs which can then be funded. And also the money is not coming in enough numbers. Most of the money that is coming is not reaching the grassroots where the action is supposed to be taking. Most of the money is still being spent at high level in meetings and all those organizations who are working on the theory, but the praxis, we are not yet there. I'm very disappointed, but I think we need to make sure that we close the gaps and the holes that exist. So the goals, I think for me, the biggest challenge is that these goals are not yet real goals. They are ideals. They don't have strategies to implement them. There is also a lack of skills and capacity in most of the institutions that are supposed to be implementing. I know in terms of waste management, there's lack of capacity in most of the cities and towns in developing countries, and also there's lack of capacity in terms of planning projects and also implementing projects. There's a lack of awareness, and also there's lack of partnerships. The spirit is not there. All the resources that are being poured, they are not reaching the grassroots. They are being spent in the top levels where they are used mainly for theory things, and then that theory is not being translated effectively into practical plans and actions. +263 77 444 7438 simon@gmail.com. Thank you.